Hey guys, this is Phil Galfon from FrontOnce.com. And today we're going to look in Vision at some straight flops with flop Cbet opportunity. So here we are on 10.98. I'm actually going to fix a couple of those things. Facing a check. So Vision uses half pot as its only sizing on straight boards. I do too. And actually, most of my opponents do too. I've played a couple who go 75%, but most go half pot. I tend to like it. We're starting on 10.98, which is this is a very connected, dynamic straight board. Dynamic in that, I'm using dynamic in so many different ways, but hopefully you know what I mean each time. Dynamic in that, like, top two pair is not going to be top two pair very often. There's three straights present. There's a flush draw present by the river, that is, on the top two pair. So you can see we do a lot of checking. 65%. And actually, if we look over here in Vision at the overview, we're overall betting 40%. If we look at the boards that we bet more often, those are going to be rainbow boards and boards on which there are one straight present rather than a bunch. And here down on 10, well, actually on 10.98 rainbow, it's less so. But basically, when there are more straights present, you do more checking because you have a lot less incentive to bet like two pair and sets as part of your value range. And then anyways, that's kind of the gist. So as far as constructing a range here, let's go into hand classes. And what you're going to see is that there's a massive difference between nut straights and non-nut straights when there are three straights present. So you can see that it's doing it like a decent mix of everything. So sets actually do the most betting for, board coverage and board coverage, protection value. The other thing about boards like this is that out of position has a lot of one card straight draws. Obviously, both players do. So sets like to bet, especially top set. I would just go ahead and bet basically all my top set here. You can check back, enough 10-9 and 9-9 and 8-8 that on a 9 or an 8 you're okay. I would just bet all my top set and check all my bottom set pretty much, unless I have. So bottom set probably needs a flush draw. Yeah. Flush draw or open ender. So you could bet your best bottom sets with your middle sets. You bet your pretty good ones. Basically, it's betting every middle set plus flush draw, which makes sense to me. Most open enders, then gut shots and stuff. It starts dropping off. And then basically all of our top sets. Sometimes checking with top set. Well, yeah. Basically, it's kind of a sliding scale with our sets. But they all are focused on, none of them are the nuts. So none of them are slow playing. They're just betting the best of them. But with top set, the best, you're betting the best 70%. With bottom set, you're betting the best 30%, and so on. Straights, I think the difference is going to be a lot more drastic. So straight, now we're looking at, I wanted to look at which straight, but it's showing straight plus set. So straight plus set, always betting straight plus two pair, always betting straight plus straight. I think that probably means like two straights, and then straight plus no pair. So actually, let's look into, we'll just do this manually. So let's go into classic mode and just type in Queen Jack. And we're going to see that Queen Jack's betting 80% of the time. Now let's go and see Jack 7 without the Queen. Now only 22% of the time. So massive drop off from nut straight to second nut straight. And then if we're going to go to 7-6, it can't be a massive drop off from 22%, but it is going to drop off even more down to 9%. So basically your value range on these boards, let's get back into hand classes. Your value range on these boards are going to be nut straight, sets, and then two pair. That's your value range. So like Jack 7 and 7-6 are rarely a part of your value range on the flop. Two pair is going to be similar to sets in that top two is going to bet more than bottom two, or more than top and bottom, which is more than bottom two. And it's going to decide based on how strong it is. So here with flush blocker in a straight draw, it's betting more. Let's see, flush blocker. Oh, actually, so I'm wrong. So here with like a high heart and two pair and no straight draw, it's betting quite a bit. So your two pair hands are doing a bit of like 2-pair plus weak flush draw is probably doing a lot of checking. If we can drill down into those, let's go into the checks. Yeah, so 2-pair plus weak flush draw doing a lot of checking. 2-pair plus stronger flush draw is doing a lot of betting. And then you are betting some 2-pair plus a jack and 7 are mostly checking. But then with just like a very weak 2-pair, you're actually doing some betting to get your 1 street of value and protection and then check back. And you like to have a flush blocker to block check raises and things like that. So that's interesting. And potentially so when you bet 10-9 and the turn is a queen of hearts and you have the ace of hearts or the king of hearts, you're going to keep bluffing with a hand like that. And then you can fill up on the river with some of your bluffs. So that's pretty cool. Bottom 2, I think is going to be kind of similar. Yeah, very similar. It's actually like either has a strong flush draw and is value betting, or has a flush blocker and weak draws and is kind of bluffing. And bluffing is flop strategies are always where it gets the most confusing because you're not strictly doing one thing or another. In the river, you're basically always bluffing or value betting. Sometimes you're doing some merge weird stuff that solvers execute that humans can't really do. But on the flop, a bet with weak 2-pair with a heart blocker is it's bluffing your opponent off of equity and giving you some playability on future streets. So that's essentially the gist on this board. As far as unpaired bluffs, we obviously like flush draw plus straight draw, and then blockers are going to matter a lot. One hand category that's kind of interesting is blockers. So if we look at Jack without a queen, without a 7, you're going to see it's mostly betting. Actually checking with hearts, unless that's 3. Well, checking with hearts more than without hearts. Betting probably with a single heart all the time, and just gets to barrel off a whole bunch. With nut hearts, betting a lot. And then I would imagine 7-7 without a jack or a 6 is going to be doing a lot of checking. It's doing more betting than I thought. I guess with nut hearts or nut heart blocker, it's doing some betting. I guess you do block 3 street call downs like jack 7, but it's not a part of your value range that much. All right, interesting. I mean, with weak flush draws, you're always checking it. All right, I think that's enough for this board. Let's get into a different straight board. So let's go with King 10-9 rainbow. So now there's only one straight present. There's no flush draw present, and we'll see some of the differences there. So still using half pot. We're doing a little bit more betting on this board. And let's just go into hand classes and see what we're betting. Note that you are checking 23% of straights. People tend to forget to check these straights. As you can see, with 2-pair and set plus straight, this is my strategy. 2-pair and set plus straight, always betting because you have that extra board coverage. 1-pair is where you do most of your checking. I assume straight plus straight, I think this means like a queen, jack, which you can ignore. But yeah, with the 1-pair, especially King X, you're going to do more checking. And I would just bet almost all of my unpaired straights. With ace, queen, jack, always bet regardless of your other card. And then, because you just want to build a pot against queen, jack and against everything. And yeah, with queen, jack, I would basically like queen, jack, no pair. I would always bet. And then king, queen, jack with no 2-pair set, I would always check. And maybe even queen, jack 10, always check. And then just mostly bet queen, jack 9. And that would be roughly the right amount of straight checkbacks for me. Sets are doing more betting than on the other board, I think. Yeah, they are. Not by a lot, though. Top set, almost always betting. And with all of these, it's basically going to be additional equity. And so similar to most boards with sets. Yeah. So backdoor flush draws are good. Gut shots and open enders are good. Weaker hands, no draw, which backdoor flush blocker Oh, actually, though, flush blocker plus straight draw is doing some more checking. That's a little bit surprising to me. All right. So with bottom set, yeah, you bet more with a gut shot. You bet more with backdoor flush draw. With straight draw, without straight draw. Yeah. And down in here to, so open ender, I guess specifically like this is going to be Jack 8 and probably 8-7 a lot of. That's doing more checking, I guess, because you don't need as much protection, but the 8-7 doesn't serve you in like a 3-street bet situation. But yeah, bet most of your top set, a decent amount of your middle set, not a ton of your bottom set, but like ace jack bottom set, always bet ace jack 9-9. Your no pair, one pair, and two pair. We don't need to go too into these, but you do need to, like, you don't have a lot of draws present or available to you. So you kind of just need to throw in a lot of nut gut shots because those are also going to be a blocker. A lot of, jack, jack, and queen, queen. More jack, jack than queen, queen, both because it's a little bit less showdown value, but also because it serves as a better blocker on an 8 or a 7. Like we can go drill down into these, but the problem is it's just a lot of it's going to be a lot of random stuff. So like here it does like having the open ender, queen queen, doing a lot of betting. This is just back to, but basically like you have a good idea of your value range. And I guess we could talk about two pair, which we didn't do, which actually top 2 is betting a lot. And bottom 2 rarely betting, and similar things like additional equity, not gut shots, especially very valuable to have with two pair. Really like very valuable to have ace jack and ace queen in your betting range. And actually you have to be careful you have to make sure that you check back some ace king queen, ace king jack, ace jack 10, ace queen 10, ace queen 9, ace jack 9, because you're so incentivized to bet air plus gut shot, set plus gut shot, two pair plus gut shot. So you need some of those in your check back range. So when you have one pair, make sure to check those back. Drilling down. So like a lot of what I do with solvers is I look for spots where it's very useful. And then once it starts getting to a situation where it's just doing a ton of mixing, I just get an idea that it's doing a ton of mixing. I get an idea of maybe what cards it likes, but they're kind of obvious to me almost always. And then I just move on and I do my best to mix in those spots. And I just find it so challenging to look into a solver at a spot where the hands it chooses don't follow any kind of clear pattern, and try to memorize it is futile. To try to discern a pattern where the pattern is very subtle or there is none. It ends up being a huge waste of time. And actually this is early on in my work with solvers. What I found so discouraging about them is that there are so many spots, especially when you look at flop Cbets. There are so many spots that it's just doing a lot of mixing. This is more true in Hold'em than in PLO, but true nonetheless in PLO. And in those spots where it does a lot of mixing, which I guess you'll see if you haven't already, because I don't know what order I'm putting these in the monotone flop, not monotone, paired board flops. Like on paired boards, the solver just mixes with everything. And it has some hands it prefers to bet and some hands it prefers to check, like hand classes. But for the most part, you just do a whole bunch of mixing. And so just do a bunch of mixing. Don't waste a lot of time, and then adjust your opponent in those spots. So here I could go, going through the one pair hands and the unpaired hands and finding patterns. They're not going to be super, super clear patterns. Prefers betting backdoor flush draw, open ender with no draw. Let's say no draw, no blocker. You're just going to get it's just going to be a random smattering of different hands, and they're often going to be, contain a queen or a jack. But like here, I mean, ace 5-5 deuce, not backdoor flush draw is betting. What pattern does that fit? Not backdoor flush draw, I guess. But basically, like a queen or a jack, or some kind of double backdoor flush draw. Aces are kind of useful because then they can block straights when the queen or the jack hits. I mean, here's ace 7 5 deuce with no backdoor draw. Oh, that's checking. Never mind. Excuse me. But basically, like, yeah, I mean, here it's even sometimes betting a hand like 8-3 deuce deuce with a backdoor 8 high flush draw. You don't need to find these hands. You just need to get a roughly decent bluffing frequency. And I mean, basically, like, yeah, it'd be great if you could match that, but you can't. Unless you have photographic memory, you just can't execute a strategy like that. So it just is a waste of time and energy to look into. So we have an idea. We know what sizing we're going to use. We know what our value range looks like. And we know that we need to find some random bluffs with Queen X and Jack X, with straight blockers and with backdoor draws. And then on a more dynamic board, like on the more dynamic straight board, like 10-9-8 with a flush draw, it's a little more intuitive to find the bluffs because you want some either high heart blockers or additional equity in your semi-bluffs. But that should do it. Hopefully that's helpful. And we can get into some hand examples.